And I never actually ate one of those.
I'm telling you, man,
You
once you
junk
pop...
drops. I know. Welcome to Engineer vs. Designer,
The podcast.
for product designers, engineers, and anyone who's frequently on 6 a.m. conference calls with China. My name is Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com.
And my name is Adam, industrial designer of CADJunkie.com. Each week's show is broken into 3 halves. This week we'll be talking about design entrepreneurship and ethical manufacturing. First, we'll serve up the top product design stories from this week's news, courtesy of SolidSmack.com.
Followed by design process tips, tricks, and Q&A compliments of CADJunkie.com.
And finally, we'll talk with special guest Sugandh Goel about her latest new venture, Gunas Ethical Fashion, at GunasTheBrand.com from her studio in New York.
Sugandh, we're so glad you could join us today. If you could poof your hair into an afro and carve it into the bust of a celebrity, which celebrity would you choose?
Anyway, I think if I had to choose somebody, it would probably be Oprah.
Okay, Sugandh, stay put. We'll be hearing more from you as the show goes on. Speaking of crazy hairdos, Josh Mings of SolidSmack.com, spike up our floppy mops with the butch wax of knowledge. What have you got for us this week?
All right, this week's SolidSmack update is brought to you in Synchronous Tech 3D by Siemens PLM. Solid Edge is 3D modeling bliss. Stuff those shaggy stockings with a free 45-day trial of Solid Edge and crank that design into the new year. Get it now at solidedge.com. All right, I'm going to read you 5 stories from this week's product design news, one of which is completely made up.
Fake!
So, your job, EVD listener, is to find the fallacious fictional fantasy and be the first to comment on EVD1.tv with the answer.
We'll send you a free EVD t-shirt, and let me just tell you, if you are hearing this right now, you are one of 6 people who listen to EVD,
6.
so your chances of winning are...
really darn good.
They're really good. So if you want a free shirt, get that comment box up and ready. Set?
Here we go. Your clothes and your fresh sense of the fashionable will be printed. Euromold was in full effect the beginning of December. Their Belgian 3D print house Materialize displayed the possibilities you'll have, featuring printed fashion by the likes of Iris van Herpen, a 27-year-old Dutch fashion designer who is making petite print pretty on the catwalk with what might be called dresses and more. Check out the style at irisvanherpen.com.
Definitely got some not safe for work stuff there, though. Your cutting board is bamboo, your floors could be bamboo, and your apparel might be next. It's the biggest, most sustainable eco-fashion material, but how eco-friendly is it really? Who knows? But the question is being asked, and if you are in the market for some bamboo socks, be aware, as that organic weave you seek could be mostly made of chemically processed fabric fibers. Say it ain't so.
It ain't so. Well, I just had a chance to feast mine eyes on Inventor Fusion from Autodesk and the new features coming out in the tech preview slated for early next year. For those interested in bridging the gap between Alias and Inventor, or even AutoCAD and Inventor, you'll have the ability to store and access files on the cloud, create assemblies by simply snapping parts together, and you'll get to do it all on a Mac. That's next year, but you can try it now at Autodesk Labs.
You know how to stay stylish this season, but how about your computer, your laptop, your tablet, or your pot of coffee? Now they can be stylish too. May I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, hatsforhardware.com. It's not your hair that sets you apart, it's your hat. Even more for hardware, which typically has no hair. From beanies to 1920s style flapper hats, you can change that utilitarian look into something with much more charming disposition. That is hatsforhardware.com.
Give me one. And if you want to see something completely mind-blowingly mind-blowing, check out the Rogue DZN, roguedesign.com. They've launched their newest precision machine men's bracelet, the Armadillo C6 Dark Horse. And boy, is it manly. Each of the 145 interlocking parts are individually 9-axis machined from over 200 layers of compressed carbon fiber sheet. With the hardware machine from military spec G5 aerospace grade titanium billet block. My goodness. It's available January 2012 at a price rich bracelet-wearing men can afford.
So, Sugandh, we have, in today's news, covered a couple of different stories about eco-fashion and eco-friendly design. Obviously, you are very much a proponent of both of those things. What's going on in that world right now that you think is really important?
I basically focus more on the vegan aspect of eco-fashion, Adam, to be honest. So I'm seeing that, a lot of people are looking to seek out opportunities and choices, that are different from your commercial leather goods. So a lot of people are getting aware about, ecoism in fashion and realizing that there is some sort of a connection between what affects our climate and the economy and just, everything is just very interconnected. So people are more conscious about.
Now, when you talk about people being more aware of this, are you talking about buyers? Are you talking about consumers, or both?
Yeah, definitely both. I mean, consumers and buyers, it's pretty much the same thing. Even buyers from big stores and boutiques, they have to really have the knowledge of what their consumers are looking for, and ultimately they're consumers themselves. So yeah, definitely, I'm talking about both.
To me, it sort of seems like a sort of a big marketing, I guess, sort of scheme from the bigger stores, where a lot of smaller boutiques are trying to really do a good job at the eco-friendly, sustainable fashion. Yeah.
See a lot of greenwashing.
So do you see a lot of that cutting into where boutiques can really make an impact with this?
Sure. Josh, there's a term that we use which is called greenwashing. And a lot of the big companies, I feel that personally that they do that because, how can you produce something that is sustainable in factories that produce things in thousands, and are paying very meager wages to their employees? What I see is, that it's more, you can call it ethical if you're producing stuff in smaller home-owned or family-owned factories where you really have that connection with the people that are making your products. So yes, local designers, people that are producing in limited editions, are definitely doing a better job than some of the bigger companies.
And how does technology play into this at all? I mean, does it make a difference? Is sustainable design easier now than it's been in the past, or is it the same? Would you say that they're, I don't know.
I mean, if you're, I don't know how, what you mean exactly by easier. If you're saying, has technology made it easier to find sustainable resources, then yes.
Oh, insert witticism here. Wait, the script says insert witticism here. I don't know what that is, but I definitely don't think I have.
We'll be right back.
All right. Adam O'Hearn of CADJunkie.com. Throwing darts at balloons filled with pepper spray in a poorly ventilated room does not seem smart. Come on.
This week's CAD Junkie Q&A is brought to you by Siemens PLM. Solid Edge synchronous technology rocks your face with constraint-driven and history-free modeling combined. Snag some fresh how-to tips and a 45-day free trial at solidedge.com. Today we're chatting with entrepreneur and fashion industrial designer Sugandh Goel of GunasTheBrand.com in New York, and Josh is in the fetal position under the coffee table with, I believe, that is a juice box. In the next segment, we are going to ask more about the process of starting a business like this. But first, I wanted to focus on the product design process itself. So, I thought I'd ask a little bit about the process of designing a high-end fashion accessory like a handbag. It's not quite hard goods. It's not quite soft goods. It's metal. It's fabric. It's plastic. It's everything. It's other materials nobody's heard of. So, how does this process start for you, Sugandh?
Adam, that's, it's great because it's everything that I've learned and known about, like you said, it's very true that handbags are not really soft, they're not really hard. It's everything, the hardware is metal, the body portion is fabric, it's PU, it's canvas, it's a mixture of, anything that can really take that structure. So, I started out with actually designing my own hardware, which is, what I'm trained to do as an industrial designer. Right away, I want to get onto my CAD and, do all the 3D work and make things look cool. So I started with customizing my own hardware. And then it's very similar to a product design process. You do your trend boards, you start drawing inspiration from certain things, and you put together, colors according to seasons that you would want to put out as a designer. And you start with some simple silhouettes and start adding things to it to make them your own, so they have a common brand language. And that's pretty much it. You start with a collection of 10, 15 pieces, select your materials, your hardware finish, and fabrics, and get samples and prototypes done and get that perfected. And that's it. And then it goes into production.
So how long does it take to get from a napkin sketch to a finished production piece?
Again, very similar to my experience as an appliance designer. It could, you could have a really fancy sketch on your, or a very simple sketch rather, on your, on a piece of napkin. But when you actually get down to making it, there are a lot of changes that happen in production. You could have a beautiful prototype, but a lot of things get tweaked. So it's obviously not as long as it would be in the appliance or a hard good industry, but it would take about 3 to 6 months to really get your prototypes right.
Mm-hmm. And do you do the sewing yourself, some of the sewing?
Oh, not a sewer, but I do use cardboard and paper to make my 3D models, and then show those things to the tailors that make
the patterns and whatnot.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I mean, do you use mostly analog tools like that, or are you using digital tools as well?
Adam, I'm very old school. I love drawing. I love cutting paper up or fabric and pasting things all over my wall. I love doing that. And 3D is great. I love using digital tools as well. Photoshop and Illustrator. Those are just some tools that you cannot do without today.
Yeah, I mean, we're with you 100%. We actually talk a lot on this show about as much as the show can be about digital tools, we talk a lot about analog tools too, because they're definitely just as relevant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all part of the process.
Especially when you're dealing with something like fabrics or faux leathers, it's really how they can stand the structure. So you really have to on with it in the physical world than just imagining something that would look great in 3D on the computer. So it's very different.
Well, I mean, in that whole process, obviously it seems like it's 3 to 6 months, which is surprisingly fast. That's really quick turnaround. But even in that, there have to be a lot of challenges. What's the most difficult part of the design process?
So the most difficult part is really being that quick and developing your eye to really know what is going to be fresh and new next season. And that comes, once you do 1 or 2 collections that, you kind of get the hang of it. But this industry is so fast moving, the pace is just very fast. And like in comparison to product design, where you can actually copyright or trademark certain things or, get patents on certain designs, it really doesn't make sense in the fashion business because things are changing so quickly.
Well, so Sugi, I sent you a picture of Josh. Did you get a chance to look at that? Yeah, okay. So now I want you to tell me, what are his chances that he can model in your next photo shoot next to the jet, next on the runway, whatever? I just think that's a really cool idea.
Zoolander,
Does he have a shot?
I'm pretty sure he would make a great hand model.
The camera loves me, absolutely.
I've been telling you for years you need to change careers, buddy. This could be your shot.
There's the underwear bit, and then the grandpa pants.
Nope. She doesn't need to see that. No, nobody needs to see that. Okay, we'll be right back.
All right, and welcome back. Today we're chatting with Sugandh Goel of GunasTheBrand.com, and Adam has been trying on purple eye makeup all morning.
We have her on because she is basically what I want to be when I grow up. She's, smart, fun. She's got a dead sexy husband who's into drinking scotch on rooftop bars in New York. And most importantly, she's an entrepreneur who had a great idea for a product and then actually made it happen in real life. So what we really want to know from you, Sugandh, is how you do it.
Yes. When did you first have the idea for starting a vegan handbag company, and really what made you think you could actually pull it off?
I think, guys, if you're really passionate about something, it wouldn't seem like a daunting task to you. And designing for me is like waking up in the morning, brushing my teeth, and taking a shower. It's just something that I am so addicted to. And, just having a great supportive husband and, drop that sexy husband as Adam said, really does help and makes it very smooth. Back in 2007 when I quit my job and I moved to New York and I started my master's program at Pratt in design management. That was when I got my first introduction to sustainability in design across all disciplines in the industry. And since it was an executive style program, I had the opportunity to freelance as a designer on the side as well. And being in New York, I met a lot of different people. I even had the opportunity to design for singer John Mayer. I designed his birthday present once. And Adam, you will not believe, this was a Scotch decanter with a glass set. So, coincidence. Fantastic. And one day I met a handbag designer from FIT and, had this big aha moment where everything I'd learned and been passionate about just seemed to, culminate into a handbag. Whether it's my love for animals, art, fashion, and industrial design, sustainability, just everything. That's how I got started, and what made me think that I could.
Well, so once you had the idea that you wanted to do handbags, how long did it take before you could actually get into production?
It took me about a year and a half of research, and once I made up my mind that this is what I wanted to do, I actually went out and interned with 2 local handbag designers in the city, and kind of learned what kind of a setup they need and what kind of manpower they need to really make this thing happen. And I realized that this was something doable. I also come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I definitely wanted to start something on my own. I learned quickly, and because of the prior experience I've had in the industry, and just went with it.
So once you had a product, how did you go about selling it? Was it buyers, boutiques? What did you do?
A lot of it is through trade shows. I participated in a couple of fashion trade shows, and those are also very hard to get into unless you have, a lot of recognition in the industry. So right now, basically what I'm working on is working with a lot of PR agents, celebrity placements, really building that brand image, because that's what people are gravitating towards. You really have to stand out in the market instead of, producing cheap leather alternative bags that, keep changing their style every season. I'm focusing more on developing that brand. So I have sales agents that help me with it. We also have an online store through which a lot of people buy product directly from us. It's going slow and steady, but it's steady, so that's what's important.
Absolutely. I mean, so one of the biggest issues when it comes to entrepreneurship is the issue of capital, and it's always such a kind of daunting and terrifying thing to start your own business because it does take, you kind of have to step out into the unknown and try something, and it can be expensive. And you're a normal person. We actually went to college together, and somehow you made this happen. What advice might you have for somebody who wanted to start their own company, but they're afraid of the expense, and they're afraid, of all of the bad things that can happen if you kind of go out there like that, put yourself out there?
Adam, it's definitely a gamble. And, the one thing we learned in the business program that I was in is you seek out the 3 F's to get your, to get your start, which is friends, family, and fools. So, basically approach everybody and see who, is willing to invest money in your idea or, really believes in your idea. And in my case, I think I was maybe fortunate enough to find something from all 3 of them. I worked with friends. Family definitely supported a lot of it. And I had friends that, being from the design field itself, I had friends that helped me with the graphics or, ideas on design and packaging and basically just how to market myself. So a lot of it was just brainstorming, talking to people. But that's the thing. You know, once you really believe in something, obviously keep trying. And also, you know, just out of the blue, I had somebody contact me earlier this year who really believed in my idea, and he just, you know, offered to invest in it himself. So this was, you know, just me working on something that I believed in, and then opportunity finds you. If you really have something that.
Now, what do you think is the most important the most important part of building a brand as you're doing right now?
I think, Josh, it would be realizing the true spirit of your brand and staying true to it. It's very important to define when you're going after developing a brand. You know, you really need to find that true spirit, the true meaning of what you're trying to project or what you're trying to stand for. And I'm not saying that it's easy, and you're not going to do it overnight. You know, you might start with an idea, and then things evolve as you enter the market. You realize, okay, people want different things, or, you know, something's working, something's not. So that'll evolve. But, you know, once you hit that sweet spot where you know what's working, then you just keep building upon it.
Oh, man. Well, once again, we are very sadly out of time. Sugandh, having you on the show today has been better than the first time I beat Josh at paper football 36 times in a row.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
All right. If you would like to send high-end fashion accessories or hardware hats to EVD HQ, please address them to Josh.
And if you want to send plastic truck nuts to EVD, address those to Josh as well. Engineer vs. Designer appreciates your comments. If you listen to the show and wish somebody would drop us in a sack and beat it with pool cues, head over to EngineerVsDesigner.com and let us know how you really feel.
If you want to see us encapsulated in Jell-O, again, be sure to like us, +1 us, tweet us, or whatever else us, as social media has been correlated with a jiggly exterior.
The show was edited by Simon Martin. Our theme music is by Ross Hartman.
We'll see you next week, and remember, without engineers, death by plastic Santas would be a serious public health problem.
And without designers, plastic Santas would be a lot more common.
It's true, kumquat.
Rhubarb.